Prior to coming to Full Sail, my feelings about public speaking were pretty much indifferent. I had never taken any classes covering this particular subject matter, so I didn't really have an opinion about it one way or another. Prior to coming to Full Sail, I did work in radio. I don't know if that would necessarily be considered as a public speaking experience, but I definitely had a job that required me to speak and articulate. So if that applies, I would definitely say yes, then I had some public speaking experience. I would have to say yes. I do feel pretty comfortable with my communication skills. I make an effort to articulate myself and make sure that my point is heard and understood whenever I address something. So I would have to say yes. Well, concerning the performing experience, I do helm my own entertainment company. So I have performed with my artist on a couple of occasions. So that answer would be in the affirmative. During the introductory speech, I definitely made an effort to a conscious effort to try to make eye contact and use gestures, project myself, and to move around the room so I didn't appear sedentary. During a persuasive speech, I actually feel like this is the one I did best on because it was a lot more natural to make the eye contact, and people were actually a lot more engaged in what I was saying. I never really have to make an effort to project myself. As far as my gestures go, I didn't try to be phony. I just pretty much did what came natural to me. And of course, with moving around, I tried to move around a bit, but I didn't want to get in the way of the slide. So I think I did a pretty good job on that. During the industry professional speech, I definitely felt like I could have done better because I just didn't feel very prepared for it. I was really busy with other classwork around the time, and I didn't really get to practice like I wanted to. So I believe my gestures and in my timing and my pace in general pretty much suffered for it. I still tried to move about the room, and I believe I had some pretty good visual support for it. But I believe I definitely could have done better on that one. The only presentation I can say that I felt nervous with was the industry professional, just because I felt like I wasn't as prepared as I would have liked to have been. I did a lot of extensive research and I wasn't able to fit all of it within the time constraint. So that was the only one I really felt nervous about. I feel like the audience responded well to my presentations. I definitely got a lot of comments and a lot of responses after finishing the presentation, so I definitely felt like they were pretty engaged. I noticed that everyone seemed to be paying attention when I performed these speeches. The audio visual components, I felt like I interacted pretty well. I didn't have any real serious technical problems, and I come from a tech support background, so I don't think that would have been much of a problem anyway. I tried to make sure that my audio visuals pretty much supported the concepts for which I was speaking. I was satisfied with the amount of time spent researching almost all of my projects, with the exception of the industry professional. I really feel like I should have spent less time researching it. I feel like had I done that, I wouldn't have had so much information, and I wouldn't have felt so overwhelmed in preparation for it. I definitely spent time practicing for the introductory speech. Mostly because of the fact that it was my first time doing a speech of this nature, and I wanted to be pretty prepared, but I didn't overdo it just because I was talking about a familiar subject matter, so I don't think there was a lot of need to research and document and create note cards talking about myself. I would have to say that I spent more time practicing for the introductory speech than any of the others, just because of the fact that my time did not really allow me the time that I would have preferred to practice and get really acclimated with the outlines for my subsequent speeches. I really didn't have any technical issues or delivery problems. During my process of these speeches, I noticed that a couple of other people had issues, but I really didn't have anything along those lines, so I can't really speak on that. The speech I enjoy giving the most was definitely the persuasive speech. I always feel good when I'm able to provide someone with some useful information, something that they didn't know before, and something that can make their lives better. The speech that was the most challenging was the industry professional speech. I picked the industry professional that I really look up to and really admire, and I feel like there was so much information that I really wanted to provide that I didn't do a good enough job of condensing it down into a format that would fit within my time constraints. I really felt pretty comfortable overall, but if I had to pick one, I would say my biggest delivery challenge would probably be my gestures, just because of the fact that I'm not really a person that uses gestures. I'm not extremely animated in real life, so it would be kind of difficult for me to incorporate a part of something that isn't myself into a speaking technique. My biggest challenge concerning research and preparation is knowing the right amount of research to do for the time frame, and more so knowing what information can be cut out, because I really feel like in most cases that everything is important. The challenge for me is knowing what to exclude. From watching Mr. Cahill's presentation, I learned about just how consolidated the media industry is. I was pretty aware of it, but had no idea that it was in depth and as bad as it is. I think that definitely limits people's creativity and also provides for overstimulation and over marketing to young minds. I believe I did fairly well on the time constraints for each presentation. The only one I may have been a bit close to going over on, or I may have gone over on, was my industry professional speech, just because I really had a lot of information to deliver. If I had to rate my overall public speaking performances this month, I would have to give myself a good solid three, maybe three and a half, just because I felt pretty confident with most of the speeches that I had to deliver. After my experience with giving speeches this month, I would definitely say that right now I would be better prepared to give a speech in a professional setting, especially if given a more reasonable amount of time to prepare for.